Hi, this is Steve Dockery, and welcome back to the Moot Workshop. In our last video, we started working on the 512KE, determining that it basically doesn't work, that nothing happens when you turn it on, except that it goes beep. Nothing comes up on the screen. So what's wrong with it? Now, we could go through a lot of really lengthy testing to find out the basic problem, but fortunately, to find out the basic thing, I have an easy solution. I can use the old known good thing. The 128K Mac over here, everything works on that. So if I swap some parts into here, because they're swappable, they're mutually compatible, we can determine pretty quickly where the problem lies. So that's what we're doing today on the Moot Workshop. Okay, so when last we left off, we tried turning this guy on. And that's all we got was a beep, and nothing comes up on the screen. Now this one, we know this one works. We turn that one on, we get a beep, and we get a picture. Now the easiest thing to swap between these two is the logic board. I should be able to take the 512's logic board out and stick it in this one, just to see if the logic board works. So let's do that. So this swap is actually really easy. I've disconnected the floppy drives on both of these, and I'm going to hook up my wristband here to keep from zapping the logic board. I'm going to take the logic board out of the 128. Oh, I've got to disconnect the cable that goes to the analog board. I'm going to put that for safekeeping in an anti-static bag. And then I'm going to disconnect the cable from the 512's logic board. Move that over here. We have a known good analog board and a known good picture tube on this one. So let's sit it upright. Hook up a power cable to it. And let's see what happens. And we have a good logic board. So it's got to be something else. So we've narrowed it down. Okay, to save us a little bit of time on the video, I already removed the analog board from the other machine. So I'm going to remove the analog board from this machine. Now, one thing we should do, and it's not clear to me if we need to plug this in for this or not. It seems to me that's giving us a ground. There may be high voltage on that tube. So what we want to do is short that to ground. So I'm going to plug this onto, clip this onto the chassis. It's basically a clip going to a screwdriver. And then I slip that underneath the edge of that. And it made a little snap. That was it discharging when I touched the screwdriver to the clip in there. It discharged that high voltage. So now we're safe. We can unplug that. And basically, it's just a clip lead connected to a screwdriver. Don't touch this part when you're doing it, just the plastic. Don't try this at home unless you really know what you're doing. I do not want you to sue me or die. So, here's what we're going to do. We are going to take the analog board off of this one, and we're going to swap that good one into it. It's already disconnected from the logic board. I need to pull this off of the tube. I need to disconnect this wire. The last thing we need to disconnect this plug from the yoke to the board. All right, so there's the logic board freed. Now let's put the transplant in there and see what happens. All the same things go back on in the opposite direction. All right, all we got left is this one little ground screw. All right, so that's the picture tube and everything else, logic board and all, from the 512, with the power board from the 128. So let's set it up and see what happens when we turn it on. Look at that. So what that means is that the problem with the 512 is the analog board. So now we're going to have to figure out what's wrong with it, or we're going to have to find another one.